Welcome to tonight's informative edition of First Issues, where we first explore new innovations and techniques to improve our efficiency at work. And later in the show, consider our role in reducing the health bill that diabetes is costing the nation.
I think everybody's at risk. Anybody that is living within an urban setting, anybody that is eating the foods we're going to talk about in a minute are at risk. Anybody that knows when they stand on a scale in the bathroom or in a doctor's room and the doctor says that you are significantly overweight is at risk.
Remember that New Year's resolution to be more productive, a better version of yourself to achieve those long-standing career ambitions? Well, a few weeks into the year and slap bang into the daily pressures and stresses of the workday, is that still a burning desire for you? We welcome you to tonight's episode of First Issues, where we will try to reignite that positivity and want for more out of your work life. Changes as small as moving around a little more could have a dramatic effect. A study from the University of Sydney found that sitting for 8 to 11 hours daily could literally kill you, increasing your chances of dying by 15% in just 4 years. Having areas to stand while working or treadmill desks is but one innovation meant to address this. Yoga balls and kneeling chairs can also be better alternatives than traditional chairs, apparently, because employees are able to get a bit of exercise while working. Even if the exercise is not strenuous, it is said to still boost energy and productivity and contribute to a healthier lifestyle. Occupational therapists Mpora Basha and Frida Brambat-Dearwader are here this evening to explore with us ways in which you could get more from yourself and your workday, and even look into structures that those in higher decision-making levels can implement to encourage a more energized and thus productive workplace. Welcome back to First Issues as we look at the innovations and techniques that can greatly improve our efficiency in the workplace. It all begins with drive, and Frida and Mpho say there are both external and internal factors that affect our level of motivation.
Motivation is one of those things that you've got intrinsic motivation, which is really your own personal motivation, and then you've also got the external factors. Your environment can motivate you or demotivate you. I suppose from a personal perspective, one of the things to ask yourself is, do I enjoy what I'm doing? Do I feel like really getting up? Am I happy at my work? Do I have a nice team around me? Those are all things that can motivate a person. Also, the type of work, the recognition you get, the acknowledgement, the respect. Whether you're a cleaning lady or whether you're a top manager, you still need to earn the same kind of respect, and that really gives an internal drive to want to do better, to want to try and be more productive, basically. And yeah, from an external side, it's the environment, the atmosphere at work. When you come in, do you feel like everyone is grumpy and dumpy and really not really a happy atmosphere, or do you come in and there's a nice team spirit, everyone is in and passionate about what they're doing? And that makes a huge difference when you're coming into work, to actually see happy people that you're joining and that you're going to be working with the whole day.
Companies that take their time to make sure that their employees are very happy, the individuals at work stay more motivated and they're more productive. So a company that invests a lot in its employees' health and happiness is a very productive company, and you end up with profits, actually. So your employees work harder for you and they're more committed to their jobs and they're more motivated.
There are a number of intriguing inventions out there for the modern worker. The Dharma cushion, for example, recently launched on Kickstarter, fits directly onto your office chair to encourage smarter sitting. Its tiny sensors record the body's micro movements and track heart rate, respiration, stress level, and posture. And the QB is a tiny portable elliptical machine that promises to help you get a workout at your desk. What new tools and techniques can our guests tell us about from maybe the developed world?
Looking at the long 8-hour day, 5 days a week, if we're actually going way back in history, factory workers were, one of the earliest hard-working people. They used to work long days, long hours, and then suddenly someone came up saying, this is maybe not, they're not being as productive as they could be. So that's when the shift took place to a 5-day week with 8 hours a day. And they found that they were actually more productive in less time. So it's not necessarily that if you work more hours that you are more productive. So one of the things is to possibly shift into a mindset that, okay, if a 5-day week with 8 hours has worked well for so many years, maybe we need to transition into maybe something more flexible. And yes, in the Western world, there is a lot of flexi-hour type of work environments where people can work from home as well as go to the office maybe once or twice a week. Some people work full-time from home, but the down part there is that people get a bit lonely and they do feel that they need a motivating team around them as well to keep going and to be more productive. So a lot of places have chosen to have a balance between that. So giving the employee more flexibility, setting very clear targets and outcome-based pointers, so you know what you need to achieve by the end of this week. And whether you do that at home, at the office, behind your desk or in a train, that's up to you, as long as you achieve what we're asking you to achieve within this time.
And investing in very good IT products and systems. So if you have access from wherever you are, you don't necessarily have to be in the office to access your database. So you can do that from home, you can do that on the train or on the bus going to work, and you can do your reports and keep up with your work wherever you are. And even with the flexi-hour system where you can have saying, okay, instead of 9 to 5, people can come in, early in the morning, 6 to 3, or someone can come in at 10 to 7. It just depends what works for you. Are you an early morning person, or are you a later morning person, or are you an evening person? When are you best productive? And then the workplace, if it offers you that flexibility, then it's up to you to see what works best for you. But as long as you're achieving your targets and you're staying on point with your goals and what you need to do, that can work very well.
Are there other maybe tools or toys or products or ways that are being used to boost innovation and productivity within the workplace, other than maybe just flexi hours?
It's important within the organization to be flexible, to allow people to work in different positions. Maybe it works better to stand rather than sit for hours at end. To have regular breaks. Some places might introduce some gym equipment so that you can just go and get rid of your excess energy and come back and you have more oxygen basically flowing through your brain. And because your brain also is a muscle that gets tired under stressful circumstances, under monotone type of work, you get exhausted. And you need to try and just pep people up within that environment. And another thing that really works is by visualizing your goals as an organization, your targets as an organization. I'm not saying put job descriptions on the wall, but highlight the core points about how what you stand for as an organization. And every time people walk around, they see that and they remember that. So those ethics and those morals within an organization can actually build into a person as well.
And going back to those companies that invest a lot in their employees' happiness, a company like Google that's always got like a very high happiness index for their employees, they use different things like even slides at work. They make it very fun to work there. You have ping pong stations, you have Lego stations. It's very relaxed. They give free snacks to their employees, but it's healthy free snacks. So there's a lot of things that you can do to keep your employees happy. And if you see the benefit in that you have very happy employees, they stay very motivated and they can do a lot for that company.
Often it's not actually a pay raise that motivates a person. It's usually the recognition, the acknowledgement, the respect, the way they're treated. So from an emotional perspective, I think managers and just the organization has a huge role in playing in terms of how productive a person ends up being and how motivated they are. So you can say, okay, you can do this much and we'll pay you more, but that does not necessarily make that person happier. So sometimes it's more to do with how they're actually feeling within that place.
You can even see that sometimes men prefer to work in environments where they problem solve a lot, and women prefer environments that are more social. So if a woman is having a harder time sort of fitting into the work politics, so they take that on board quite a lot in terms of the emotional well-being. and that can actually spoil the whole job for them because they don't feel supported at work. But then for men, if you don't have control over what you're doing, you don't solve problems, you get bored quite easily. So there are some differences between men and women when it comes to work and when it comes to what makes them happy at work.
Keep in mind that all the decisions you make, whether it be small ones like what you eat and how you sit throughout the day, or major ones such as whether to leave or stay in a particular working environment, all affect your performance. And we trust that we have helped shed some light as to which decisions you should make for a more productive 2015. Welcome back to the show. In the field of economics, both natural and human resources are considered important factors. Likewise, when considering the world of business, the health of the workforce cannot be overlooked as it has a direct impact on productivity. In the realm of health, diabetes has become a pressing matter, with some labeling it a silent killer. It is reportedly a very expensive illness to treat, costing the United States $244 billion in the year 2014, according to an analysis of the disease's economic burden. According to the International Diabetes Federation, the cost per person with diabetes in Botswana is $657.7, or the equivalent of over 6,200 pula. 94,000 people in Botswana within the 20 to 79 age bracket have diabetes. In fact, Botswana has the third highest diabetes prevalence in Africa after Mauritius and Seychelles. The International Diabetes Federation says that 80% of all diabetes patients are found in middle to high income countries. And most disconcerting is that of the 183 million cases of type 2 diabetes worldwide, 50% do not even know they have the disease, thus the silent killer label. Dr. Kiran Bhagat demystifies a condition that is steadily threatening the health and livelihoods of more and more Botswana, telling us exactly what diabetes is.
Diabetes is a condition which occurs because the body is not able to cope with the amount of sugar that is being ingested and the disposal of that sugar. So many foods that we eat contain sugar, and the body has various mechanisms that are designed to dispose of the sugar, because the sugar is an energy substance. That substance is called insulin, and insulin is produced by a structure in the body called the pancreas. Now, when the pancreas is producing insulin at the maximum dosage, the sugars therefore are rising, and the insulin is not being produced at a quantity sufficient to control the sugar. Then you get diabetes. There are two different types of diabetes. There's a type 1 diabetes, which occurs in the younger population. Generally, it's a condition that occurs in childhood, and it's a condition where the pancreas, for various reasons, is actually not producing any insulin at all. The incidence of that type 1 diabetes has not changed over the last 100 years. What has changed and has caused it to become a global issue is what we call type 2 diabetes, which is adult onset diabetes. And this is largely as a result of a lifestyle disease. It is a condition of obesity, it's a condition of bad eating, it's a condition of lack of exercise. And what has happened is we are increasingly taking larger and larger quantities of calories, and the body is not able to dispose of those calories. For calories, you can substitute sugar, and as a result, the pancreas is not able to keep up with the consumption of the calories, and as a result, the sugar is beginning to rise in the body and cause this condition called diabetes.
There are a number of lifestyle diseases plaguing the current labor force. Why then is diabetes so often singled out?
The trouble with diabetes is two things. One is it's a chronic disease. It's a very slow, insidious condition. It sort of creeps on the system. So by the time a patient comes and we've detected the sugar is high, and sugar is high if it's more than 5.5 or 6 on our current unit values, we know from research that that diabetes has been in that body for between 10 to 15 years. It has been slowly building up to the point of breaking, and eventually the body breaks. It manifests all the complications. And why is it a global issue? Because it has a spin-off and permutations of all sorts of complications. It runs through the body and it wreaks havoc. It causes blindness. It is one of the leading causes of blindness worldwide. It is an inseparable twin to blood pressure. most diabetics are almost guaranteed to have blood pressure in their lifetime. 25% of people who have blood pressure are guaranteed to have diabetes in their lifetime. The two are almost interchangeable. Then sugar is often converted to cholesterol. Cholesterol begins to rise and it begins to cause havoc on the heart, and you can get heart attacks. You can get blockages of circulation in the limbs and complications such as amputation. One of the common causes of amputation worldwide is uncontrolled diabetes. So it is the reason why diabetes has become a global issue. It is an issue that has impacted not only on the personal health, but the health of a nation, the health of the globe, but also the economic health or consequences on the economics of a country.
At the beginning of this segment, we looked at the fiscal costs of diabetes, but what of the human cost and other incidentals? How big a problem is diabetes in Botswana and around the world?
It's a major issue. The statistics are still being compiled by the World Health Organization, by the Ministry of Health, but we are estimating that we are no different from any other population in Southern Africa. It is estimated, for example, that worldwide, within the next 10 to 12 years, there'll be almost 500 million people with diabetes. In contrast, the World Health Organization estimates that there are about 35 to 40 million people with HIV. So if you contrast the population of HIV globally with the population of diabetes, you can see the huge disparity in terms of the number of diabetics. Even people with HIV are prone to diabetes because of certain complications that occur. So it's a major global issue. On the continent, we link type 2 diabetes with obesity, and we know that obesity is on the rapid rise in Southern Africa. The city of Johannesburg released statistics last year that estimate that between 65 to almost 70% of black women in Johannesburg are overweight. We don't live very far, and we probably are consuming the same junk foods, fast foods, processed foods as the women in Johannesburg are doing. And so we know that there's a major issue sitting on our doorsteps. The World Health Organization says that in countries like ours, like much of the African continent, we're sitting with what's called a double burden, where we have the burden of HIV, but we're sitting with that other burden, which is diabetes and blood pressure, the chronic diseases, the lifestyle diseases, which fortunately are very readily preventable, but they are not being addressed because people are not sure what to do in terms of prevention.
Next, Dr. Bhagat addresses a question that may have already formed in our viewers' mind, that of who exactly is at risk of getting this illness.
I think everybody's at risk. Anybody that is living within an urban setting, anybody that is eating the foods we're going to talk about in a minute are at risk. Anybody that knows when they stand on a scale in the bathroom or in a doctor's room and the doctor says that you are significantly overweight is at risk, because we know that obesity, I mean, we're trying to train medical students that not only should they have a stethoscope around their neck, but they should also have a tape measure, because measuring the size of the waist circumference is as important as measuring your blood pressure, because the waist circumference determines your direct risk and complications of diabetes. If, for example, as a man, your waist circumference is more than 90 centimeters, and as a woman it's more than 80 centimeters, you are at increasing risk of diabetes within your lifetime. Again, I want to emphasize that diabetes is an insidious problem, because you may say to me, well, how do you know you have diabetes? Unfortunately, until it's often too late, you don't know that there are no symptoms. You may get the occasional dizziness or tiredness. You may feel like you're a little bit thirsty, but these are symptoms in our hot climate where you think, well, it's a hot day, I'm drinking water. I'm going to the loo because I'm drinking more water. These are symptoms maybe of diabetes, but you disregard them. You're not exercising, you're eating a packaged lunch, which is a lot of processed foods. Your weight is going up, you're sitting on a high cholesterol, you're sitting on blood pressure, and lo and behold, something snaps, and the doctor says you're diabetic. So the question, who's at risk? Everybody's at risk.
Speaking of good and bad food, what can our guest teach us, seeing that there is a lot of contradictory information out there that has left an otherwise educated populace completely at a loss when it comes to the subject of good nutrition?
The most important thing in terms of diabetes prevention worldwide is education. Once the public is sensitized or conscientized to what they're putting on their plate, they will then not be in a position to say, I didn't know. It's conscious, it's informed consent. Most people will say, I didn't know that a low-fat yogurt, the reason why it tastes so good is because what they've done is they've removed the fat, but they've put the sugar in there. They didn't know that some of these energy drinks are actually poison. They didn't know that drinking fruit juice, a can of fruit juice probably has more sugar than a can of Coke. People are not aware of these things, and so they're swallowing these things unknown to themselves that they're actually poisoning themselves. So I think the first thing is to educate our public to say, these are the things that you should be aware of before you actually swallow them. If you do it, then so be it on your head that you've done it consciously. So the first thing is to make sure that education. The second thing is to make sure that our food industry is regulated to the extent that they label the items as to the calorie content, the sugar content, because in most parts of the world, they are obliged in terms of the calorie content to label it. You'll find many foods on our supermarkets that are not labeled in terms of their calorie content. And the third thing is what, for example, the Americans have done. They're introducing carbonated taxes. They're talking about fat taxes. They're talking about fizzy drink taxes. We tax the tobacco. We tax the alcohol. We now need to think about taxing things that are making our population sick, and sugar is one of them.
I can't say to you with confidence you will get your flight, because I don't know if Air Botswana will be able to, to fulfill that portion. I can't say to you as an investor, you come and invest, because I don't know if Labour will give you a permit or immigration will give you a visa. I don't know, and these are things which are out of my control. I can't say to you, come and set up the fastest internet connectivity, because I don't know if you're going to be able to get that or if you will do it. So these are things that talk to branding Botswana as well. It's not just a billboard. It's not just going out there saying brand Botswana. That's the cheapest and easiest part of it. It's what we actually do that is the brand.
Until next week and another issue of interest, I, Nametso Semakula, the team behind First Issues and our sponsors, First National Bank, wish you a good night and pleasant viewing.